Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I'll make a presentation on mining, how to make it sustainable. This is actually a paper presented in a recent conference with my colleague from Russia. The title was Directions for Truly Sustainable Mining Practices. So the word sustainable, it means literally you are able to maintain at a certain rate and level. So that's the conventional definition, not the scientific one that we see. So now we're talking about rate. So what rate is determined by the time frame imposed by the establishment. So what is sustainable relates to a certain rate. And who tells you this is the rate? It's the establishment, of course. So when you're talking about rate at a level, it really implies status quo, meaning not something novel, but something that we are used to using. So both time frame and status quo are non-existent in nature. Nothing expires in nature. If there is a technology that is truly sustainable, it should not cease to remain sustainable after a certain time. So if you use nature as the model that is truly sustainable, then this definition is aphenomenal. This is a term we coined when 2007. It means aphenomenal means anything but true, meaning at best it's irrelevant. So there we have it. The conventional definition of sustainability is aphenomenal. It has no meaning. And sure enough, if you go to the UN website, everything is about these definitions of sustainable. None of the definition is logical or even something achievable. It's like totally crazy definition. True sustainability should be such that it helps us support life on Earth. It's in harmony with nature. Sadly, we don't have a model that we can look at today and say, this is what we should be doing. People who are in charge of developing technology are the biggest liars. So here, quite often I show this graph, the roller coaster ride of post-Newtonian era. So I'm quite harsh on Newton because after Newton, everything has changed. All the technologies used to be sustainable before this man came in the picture, who, by the way, is recognized as more important than Jesus Christ. Number one, most important and influential person is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Second is Newton. Third is Jesus, even though that's not real Jesus, that's the fake Jesus they talk about. But in any case, this is the roller coaster ride we have been taken into. I have lots of these, but I'll just mention a few. They used to talk about global chill, then they talked about global warming. They used to say high sugar is beneficial. Now they say sugar is worse than cocaine. They used to say fossil fuel powers everything. They are so proud of it. Now they say fossil fuel is evil, so evil that we want zero carbon. They gave Nobel Prize to the guy, Dr. Muller, who invented DDT. A few years later, DDT was banned. They used to glamorize perfume. It was the symbol of sophistication and status. Today, this is scent-free everywhere. So no scent is good sense. They used to say, save body and don't breastfeed. Just even personal things. Now they say, you have a rehab clinic if you cannot breastfeed. So we do not have, in post-Newtonian era, we do not have a model that you can follow that, well, this particular scientist followed something that was sustainable, so let's follow him. We do not have any. It has been dictated by crazy people who just took us for a ride. Here, for the first time, I don't know if anybody ever in this era recognized every technology that we know today goes back to a prophet. And that's a natural conclusion that comes from Quran. Because true knowledge and knowledge of sustainability is true knowledge. Always came from God, from Allah, and through a prophet. And this is not recognized today. Even though Newton was a so-called monotheist, he used to believe in God, but it has absolutely no bearing on what they did. In Islam, you recognize that Prophet Adam had technology. Idris knew. What technology did Prophet Adam had? Agriculture technology, of course. He also had fire, because human being cannot live without energy from extra energy. And that's why cooked food is a must for life of a human. We're unusually made. Our requirement in energy is order of magnitude higher than any other species. So if you recognize this, what you have to do is seek sustainability from prophets, the way they did business. So I drew this graph. I have shown it a few times before. Whenever a prophet came, you see the up and down graph. Whenever a prophet came, they brought certain technology, and it really evolved with time. For instance, Prophet David, Prophet Dawood was taught iron smelting. King Solomon, Prophet Solomon, was taught copper smelting. We do not know, maybe even before that, they were processing gold, and it was sustainable, keep in mind. So it went on. And then we came to Newton. You see, up to Newton, we had all kind of technologies, and they were all sustainable. After Newton, it just went all downhill. Today, we do not have a single sustainable technology, not one. I'm not saying it, Nobel laureates are saying it. And that's the era we call plastic era. Everything is full of artificial. Just look around. Do you see anything natural? The paint on your wall, the paint on your table, the material of your table, the computer that you're using, or the iPhone that you're using, there's nothing. The sandal, your shoe that you're wearing, the ground, the carpet, or whatever you're walking on, is not soil. We have been detached from anything natural. So what happened is we have gone down, you see, after Newton we have gone down, but new science tells us that we have been making progress. This is continuously. They actually say that Adam was a caveman, he had no idea of any technology. But that's not Islamic standpoint. Islamic standpoint, he was a prophet, Adam was a prophet, and every prophet had a good technology. Like imagine Prophet Noah. He built an ark, and it's not a fantasy, it's real. And what technology did he have? Al-Samud, pharaohs, even ancient Persian, they all had fantastic technology, and actually now we don't have it. The mummy technology, the pyramid technology, we lost it. Al-Samud, they used to build tall buildings and they used to cut rock. We don't have the technology today. So there is a driver for this unsustainability. You see that the unsustainability part, the collapse, we have literally become stupid. So there is a driver for it. And we have talked about it, the driver is money. We used to have gold and silver, that is the original standard. Then we introduced coin, it's fake money. Coin has worth because the king said so, but it has no intrinsic value. That was not bad enough because a coin at least has a metal, even though it's not precious metal, but it's metal. Then we have paper note, which is much cheaper, and it has zero intrinsic value. And that's not bad enough. We have e-currency. It is nothing. We lost control. If we had gold, we could have it in possession. Nobody can devalue it. We went from gold, silver to e-currency. Now you can have billions of dollars, and next day you can wake up and you say everything is frozen. So as humans, we have lost control of our wealth, but we are very content having this. And this driver has driven everything to ground. And that's why we cannot see the collapse. We cannot identify what is the source of this collapse. So there's this HSSAN degradation, and I highlight that for everything because this degradation has taken place in every aspect of technology and even in education. So what you have here, first H stands for honey. What is honey? Honey is natural source, natural process. How natural the process is? It's the honeybees, right? So it's without interference of any human. So it's the purest form, and that's the standard. Once you have sugar, what is sugar? Sugar has natural source, sugarcane, for instance, but the process is contaminated, it's adulterated, it became poisonous, 30-some chemicals are added. So all of a sudden, from honey, natural source, natural process, to sugar, natural source, but artificial process, we have big jump. So when that happened, people started to have diabetes. They say, oh, you have diabetes, we'll fix the problem. They introduce saccharin. So what is saccharin? It's a petroleum source. Petroleum is not food. It's natural though, but it's not food. So what happened from food source, sugarcane, to non-food source, petroleum. And the process, of course, is also changed. Then people started to have cancer out of the saccharine. So, you have cancer? Okay, at least you're not getting diabetes, but you're getting cancer, so we'll change it. So how do they introduce aspartame? What is aspartame? It has nothing natural in it. Source or the process. It's not even non-food natural source. And literally, it was developed by the US. I'm just making a video. What? I'm making a video. You don't know that to making okay, thanks. Thanks. Sorry about that. So then we have aspartame literally was developed by the defense, US defense as a bio weapon. And that we are taking in our food. It doesn't give you cancer. You know why? Because it freezes your brain. You would not live long enough to have a cancer on it. So that's not bad enough. Literally, you are selling after that nothing. What is nothing that you make money with? Brand names, right? We have brand names that are sold. There has nothing in it. It's not a product. It's just a name. So that's what has happened. So all you're doing is selling propaganda, selling falsehood, and making an insane amount of profit. So this has been the driver. This has been the driver for every technology. Fortunately, sustainable mining was a practice all over the world until European late Renaissance. It was in Egypt, it was in ancient China, it was in Asia Minor. Europe also had. And the process that they had was for gold, silver, iron, and copper. So all you have to do is look back in history. Knowledge is with history. Look back in history and see how we lost the handle on it. What happened once the invention of artificial chemicals kicked in? Degradation in sustainability started. So mass, artificial, everybody knows. But artificial energy, the role of it is still obscure. Very few people understand that. And that's what I have done in many of my books. We showed the role of artificial energy, and that's really unique. Nobody else has investigated that. So how did you fall for this? Because new science does not give you any ability to distinguish between natural food, natural mass, and artificial mass, natural light and artificial light, natural energy and artificial energy. You cannot distinguish between them. If you assume that all mass is composed of atom, then that atom, you cannot distinguish between vitamin C and orange. For them, it's the same. If you assume that photons are the unit of light, then sunlight is the same as artificial light. Yet, inductive logic will tell you that they are not the same. For instance, vitamin C gives you cancer, natural orange prevents it. Sunlight gives you life. As a matter of fact, there is no photosynthesis without sunlight. Artificial light is used to torture people. We know that, but we have no theory that can tell us what is the difference between the two. Today, as a source of energy, we use for light. For instance, we use mercury, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, all these things. These chemicals did not exist in pre-industrial age. So all you have to do, go back what people used to use. For instance, Afghanistan used to sell gold to pharaohs. So ask your grandparents, what were they using? Go back and use that technology. Let's look at the timeline of several relevant inventions. 1712, commercial steam engine to pump water out of the mine was invented. See, there is nothing wrong with the steam engine, right? That the metal as well as the water system is totally sustainable. That was useful. 1742, Benjamin Franklin invented Franklin stove, and we'll look into that. Right away, we're looking into a territory where it's no longer sustainable, and we'll discuss why. 1746, John Raybuck invents lead chamber process for manufacturing sulfuric acid. Again, we're getting into something that's not sustainable. 1780, King Hyder developed metal cylinder rockets. Many people don't realize that. He was a sultan or king, whatever, in India. Mysore, I think. It was sustainable, right? This first line of rockets. Even the explosive was sustainable. 1800, Alessandro Volta invents voltaic pile. It's the beginning of battery culture. And today is so ever so important. We know all the cars and all the EVs, and the new engineering now is all about using more durable batteries. 1802, Humphrey Davy invents arc lamp. Let's review some of this. Franklin stove. You see, right there, the stove was lined with metal, allowing for better heat retention and distribution. That's the most important part. That is the invention. What do you see here? They're saying it has better heat retention and distribution, but it's metal. We know that metal is nothing for retention and distribution of heat compared to clay. So if you had a clay stove or a furnace that is contained within an earth system, that would be a lot more efficient, but no, that is ignored. So improvement they're doing, use of baffle, inverted siphon, those are all cursory. This is like very little progress. As a matter of fact, none of these compares with what they used to have, which is earth, the clay. But that was glorified. Franklin stove is considered to be the most important invention in processing minerals. Lead chamber. It's Raybuck who invented that. So what does it do? It has a lead line chamber. You see, lead line chamber allows you to produce sulfuric acid in bulk, because before they used to use glass, and the glass of course cannot be very large because it will have too much pressure and it will collapse. It's a big invention. But how does that tally with what Jabir ibn Hayyan had? That's the famous Islamic scholar. He was making sulfuric acid in 8th century, right? And he called it oil of vitriol. Vitriol is a natural product, and all you have to do is heat it up. Completely natural. And if you're heating with coal or wood, it's totally sustainable. So that was replaced with, all of a sudden, with lead. Is lead sustainable? No. But the science they needed to say that, no, this is not okay, was not there. That's why post-Newton new science goes hand in hand with unsustainable technologies. So there's just a quick comparison with the lead line furnace. You introduce sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide in a chamber. Where do you get sulfur dioxide? From roasting sulfur. So you see right there, if you're roasting sulfur with natural, say, wood fire or coal, that will be sustainable, you see? But that's not the case. Nitrogen dioxide comes from nitre. Again, nitre is a naturally available chemical. That's potassium nitrate. So on your left and on your right, so the middle one is vitriol. It's still there, but we do not use that anymore. So source happens to be all okay. But the process, when you're heating, when you're lining with lead, we're making it unsustainable. Then we talk about another big invention, the voltaic power. This is the first line of batteries. But for his credit, he used salt water, other solutions like lemon juice, even diluted vinegar to create conductive electrolyte. See, even in Europe, they started off with something natural, but then each of them was replaced. Can you imagine now drinking any battery fluid? You could do that in those days. Lemon juice and vinegar, right? And again, you have the lines of copper in between. That copper today is not sustainable because it's produced using artificial energy and artificial mass and catalyst of all sort. How do you render that organic? How do you make that sustainable? By replacing the energy source, by replacing the catalyst from so-called purified catalyst to, say, the old form, the natural form, we have it made. We can turn it around to sustainable. More inventions. 1826, James Sharp invents gas stove. Now, gas stove, this is an interesting one because original gas stoves did not have anything wrong with them. But then came processing of gas. When you process the gas, you are taking out carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, even water with what? All kind of amines. Those are artificial chemicals. And that gas is no longer sustainable. So gas stove was a good invention, but the gas itself became unsustainable because you added, to purify, so-called purify gas, you added artificial chemicals. 1828, James Nelson invents hot blast process. 1846, Henry Joseph Mouse invents tunnel boring machine. And these are important inventions for mining. But By then, already we have introduced unsustainable technologies. Most famously, Sobreiro in 1846 invents nitroglycerin. So why are these explosives important? Because we use them to access the mind, right? Another invention, pneumatic drill. Then 1856 comes the plastic. Everything would after that changes. 1867, Alfred Nobel, of course, invents dynamite. Again, dynamite. You see, even Chinese used to use explosives. India used to use explosives. They were all natural. Dynamite is not naturally made. 1892, very fateful invention. They introduced electric oven. Electricity is not sustainable energy. So whatever came out of that is no longer sustainable. Mr. Diesel invents diesel engine, and I don't know if you know it or not, original fuel that he used was vegetable oil. That would be sustainable. But of course, many say that he was killed because of that. But today's diesel engine is not sustainable. And why? Because the fuel that they use is so-called refined. What is refined fuel? It's not crude oil. It's refined with all kind of catalysts and toxic chemicals added to it. For instance, molybdenum, platinum, they are very expensive. They make the process fast, but in exchange, they pollute the downstream, pollute the final product. And so final product will have this tiny bit of this mercury, lead, cadmium, platinum, tiny bit of that, and the CO2 that will come out of this fuel would not be returned to nature. Nature is not stupid. Plants would not accept them. And that's how you have global warming, so-called global warming, the increase of carbon dioxide in nature. But that carbon dioxide is polluted one. People don't realize that. You can reverse that by not using those chemicals that you use for processing your crude oil. In mining history, this is the one that they used to have sustainable technologies. Gemstone, gold, silver, iron, copper. Everything else that came after that, none of them is sustainable. See, nature is quite interesting because we have lots of these chemicals that you see at the top, the green one, they are in abundance, right? We have iron there, and we know that iron has been in use for a long time, but not magnesium, not sodium. They were not extracted. Tin, manganese, all those are the new products, and they are not sustainable. Today, none of them is sustainable, but at least we know that in the past they used to have iron, right? But everything else, copper is here, zinc we do not know, nickel was not there before, chromium was not there before. So you have some room right now, cadmium here, right? Platinum right here, right? So right now, if you introduce natural source of energy and add no artificial chemical or additive, use naturally occurring additives. See, instead of using platinum, if you use platinum ore, that would be sustainable. So literally today, you can take all this, you have lead here, you can take all these and turn every one of these metals that you're processing into organic. So you can have organic platinum, you can have organic aluminum, you can have organic lead, and there will be nothing wrong with them. Organic copper. And your country will become the world leader because nobody has it. Can you imagine having organic gold, organic lithium? But it's there. Technology is very simple. You change the source of energy and do not add any artificial chemical. Boom, you have organics or sustainable right there. Today, I give a list and it shows the potential. You see, we are producing 1.15 billion tons of iron a year. Everything goes. Titanium. Titanium is another thing that is very useful. It was not there before. So we can introduce sustainable titanium, zirconium, nickel, zinc. None of them existed in the past. Aluminum never existed before. We can turn copper into organic copper, silver, platinum, gold. The lithium one is a very interesting one because, of course, during Biden era, it went up. Lithium growth production went up 20%. Afghanistan happens to be, I think it's the largest. Afghanistan is called the Saudi Arabia of lithium. Yet, nothing is being processed here. There's an opportunity. So there's really a shift here. If you introduce sustainable processing technology, even in a small scale, it can become today or later because it's a vacuum. Nobody's doing it. You see, they were not expecting Trump to win. And they were projecting that the use of iron will go up because of the so-called wind energy. But Trump got elected, and that prospect has to be reevaluated, which might be a good idea because we know that scientifically wind energy is not sustainable, even though it is falsely attributed to as sustainable energy, but it is not. So what you have here today is all the medieval practices, they were sustainable. And everything ever since Newton are unsustainable. So we have to bring this graph, change everything to natural, then we are talking about making a great difference in everything, every technology. So question here to ask is what is natural mass and what is natural energy? That's all. And you stick to natural, then you have the process sustainable. That's the key. See, if the process is sustainable, it is by definition will always be beneficial. There will be no harmful effect whatsoever. So we're not talking about reducing damage, or we're not talking about minimizing damage. We're talking about actually improving. With every technology, you can actually improve the environment. And that's the difference. And that happens to be zero waste. And we have 2 books on the topic. I might put the references in the comment section. But the bottom line is what we have so far on the downward graph, everything is unsustainable. We compare this with cancer. It's not my word, it's the Nobel laureate's word. Even Pope called it terrorism against humanity. But we need to turn that around to make it zero waste or everything natural. Sadly, we have been taught that profit margin, when you go from honey to sugar to saccharin to aspartame to nothing, profit margin goes up. We have to reverse that. Our pricing should be based on value. So if you are producing aspartame, we should be punished for it because what? They have tremendous intangible cost. So we have to reverse this graph and say, we want to make more money with good systems, not the bad systems. Here is a quick review. Usually people ask, is it profitable, any technology? We said no. We first ask, is it beneficial, even when the time goes to infinity? So we're talking about the slope, the environmental effect, the society effect, social effect on the society, and economic. But first question you should ask, is it, economic comes last, is it sustainable? If it is yes, then we do the economic, environmental, and society test. If that passes, we said, is it constantly beneficial? Said yes. Is it constantly environment friendly? Yes. Is it constantly good for the society? Only then we said, we take that technology, that's sustainable. Any of them fails, we throw that out. And this is really a new technique. Nobody has reported this before. People usually jump. If you make money, go for it. Here, I give some example, but it's not necessary. So in terms of exploration, how do you make exploration sustainable? From explosives that we get should be from natural ingredients. We know that even in ancient China, they were using explosive. So we have no reason to believe that we have to be stuck with this TNT and all this new science garbage. We can use natural radioactive. See, radioactive materials are used to take picture, right? We don't have to use the processed one. We don't have to use the refined one. We can use natural radioactive materials, and they're perfectly okay. So all you have to do is find a technique to measure the natural frequencies. So for exploration, we can draw a map without using any of these toxic processes, any of the unsustainable processes. Even in modeling, even in drawing convolution and deconvolution of data, we can use nonlinear filters and processors. In terms of discovery, we can introduce quantum computing, and I have several books on that topic. We have made tremendous progress in terms of speed, efficient data storage and retrieval, nonlinear solutions. So these are all the intangible aspects of making a mining process sustainable. In terms of development, we can use natural explosive. We talked about that. We can use water jet and be open to novel technologies. Production, we use natural additives, catalysts in natural state. We give the example of platinum, for instance. Instead of buying catalysts, just use the ore. You might have to use more, but so what? It's still sustainable. Natural energy, and this is a very important one. You can use actually crude oil gas if you do not refine it, or you refine with sustainable technology. For instance, instead of refining with platinum, lead, and mercury, use the ore form. Use zeolite, for instance. Then you have natural energy. You still will have so-called organic energy. Even the container of all the vessels, you can use natural materials. So if you do that, then reclamation becomes very easy. You don't have to do anything because it's inherently sustainable. We have keep in mind that the key to sustainability is to keep water clean, air clean, and the sunlight clean, and keep them natural. Second condition is zero waste. How can you make zero waste? By using natural mass and natural energy. I also added, which is very controversial at the time, the intention. If your intention is bad, it will show up. To make it very interesting, we use every step of the way, you use waste and transform into value-added products. That's the maximization of profit in a good way. This also ensures high economic value and global efficiency. Global efficiency is a very interesting one because people usually report the final efficiency. Global efficiency means every step of the way you calculate the efficiency and multiply them all. If you take that approach, global efficiency of nuclear energy is almost zero. You know why? Because you have hundreds of centrifuges. Even if they are 90%, which is they are not, then you multiply by 100 times, it becomes very, very small. We have the so-called Olympic 5-0 model. It's a zero emission, zero waste of resources, zero waste in activities, zero use of toxins, zero waste in product life cycle. And it turns out, really, if you look at it holistically, it boils down to zero waste and zero interest. Interest is needed for the economic side. If you can do zero waste and zero interest, you have it sustainable. But don't listen to bad guys. They are proven liars. They have been lying for the last 300 years. Well, technically, they have been lying ever since Shaitan. Every headline that they give you is exactly opposite to the truth. It's not just untrue, it's the opposite to the truth. We talked about this in chemical. We take crude oil and refine with so-called artificial additives. You constantly make it low value. Turn that around, use natural. These are high value products. So we're talking about going from down to the up. So imagine the value of this new model. We have done that for petroleum, and that's why I'm very confident that it can be easily done in petroleum as early as 2010. That's the first time we showed every step of petroleum engineering can be rendered sustainable. Even when it comes to reservoir development, we have a book series on sustainability. Here I just show for the same scheme, how profitability goes up by using zero waste. So we're talking about very large improvement. We're not talking about just 5-10% improvement. We're talking about 30, 50, 100% improvement. So in conclusion, total sustainability has eluded every industrial sector in modern era, every one of them. A long-term approach involves environmental considerations before profit making. True sustainability is in considering long-term impacts before any other considerations. The new sustainability criterion causes a true paradigm shift in mining technology. Zero waste approach has to be applied at every stage of the development, including exploration, discovery, and production. Sustainable processes show very high global efficiency by minimizing processing with artificial chemicals or maybe eliminating them, and energy strides are made toward achieving both environmental and economic sustainability. I think that ends my presentation.